metalheads? As you know, I'm Al Ditton. I'm the host behind Underground Noise Webzine. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday. Just wanted to let you know this is Webisode number 143. Today, I'm talking with Miguel Andrade from the band called Apotheus. How you doing there, Miguel?
Hey Al, I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, you're more than welcome, dude. More than welcome. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Pretty good, yes. On the top 10 of pronunciations I've ever had.
Yeah, don't
Miguel.
worry. People used to butcher my name back in the day. They would call me Dilton, Denton, Dinton. Oh, I've heard it all, man. It's actually Dinton, but so
Ditton.
yeah,
Cool.
Ditton, an English name.
Yeah. I
The
guess
first,
Al is just easier.
yeah, Al's my nickname. My full name's Alexander, but everybody calls me Al or Alex. But I prefer Al. It's a lot easier to pronounce, just one syllable. The first question I would like to ask.
We'll go with Al for now.
Okay, my first question for you, Miguel, is how did you guys come up with the idea to write a concept album? Like, were you guys always thinking about it, or?
All right. So I am a big fan of science fiction, and actually one of my favorite writers of all time is one of your fellow Americans. I mean, he passed away a few years ago. It's Isaac Asimov. Now, at the time, back in 2019, I was reading his books, and I just loved what he did. And basically, I saw there the foundation for so many other science fiction works that came way after that. And during in 2017 or 18, we were composing The Far Star, our previous album, and that's when this concept albums started. So what we did was we isolated ourselves in a house in the middle of the woods, and without any cell phones or well, barely. We dedicated those 2 weeks for composing the album, and we had a lot of conversations what direction we wanted to go for, and I just suggested that I really wanted to do this science in hearing and on the books or reading on the books, and I just wanted to create a universe of my own, and I figured that the band would be the perfect canvas for that, and they also love a good science fiction story, and we started drafting the main events of the story. And what happened was that each event mapped one-to-one one main event of the story, and that was all fine and good. But at the end, we had this. We had these songs which we liked, but we also had this very detailed that we had in our heads. It was like a movie. We frequently say we had the movie in our heads, and we thought that just putting it out for people to acquire it just as lyrics, that was not going to do it. People were not going to grasp the thing that we created, the universe we started, just by lyrics. So we decided to make a statement and actually write a book, a short story in a book format, which accompanies the album. So we frequently say that The Far Star is both the album and the book, the story. That's how you get the full experience for that album, because they were created at the same time. They are the same thing, just different angles of the same thing, basically. And I would say that in 2019, when we finished all of this, I think we found our true identity, our true uh, workflow that we love to work in. And since then, in Ergo Atlas, the latest album, we just repeated the recipe. We continued the story. It's a sequel, and but of course we try to make some things better, because we know what didn't go very well before, and I would like to think that we came up with an improved version of this workflow, and we're pretty proud of the result, and I think it came out really well for us, and that I think we found our place in the world, and our place in terms of workflow, relationship between ourselves. It all worked out.
That's really
the story.
cool. Now, if somebody was a new listener to your band's music, how would you describe it? Because when I listened to it, to me personally, it sounded a little bit like Dream Theater in a way, both musically and vocally.
All right. I mean, yeah, Dream Theater, especially our drummer, has a lot of Dream Theater influences. Is like one of his all-time favorite bands, and the rest of the members love the band as much as the next prog metal guy. Like, they're awesome. But that's a great question. How would you describe it? I think that has been a controversial question for a long time for us. When we release an album, we have to market it. We have to, PR it, whatever. And there comes a time where we have to find some label. And I mean label, I don't mean record label. Find some name, for some genre that we should place ourselves under. And it's always not an easy thing to do for us. And because I don't think we fit the stereotypical sound for many genres. So like at some point we just called ourselves melodic death. That was before the Fire Star, but we didn't really. When you think of melodic death metal, you don't think of the sound that we made. So it was not really a perfect fit. But then the Far Star came, and we didn't feel like melodic death metal was there anymore. It wasn't working, wasn't representing what we do. So we decided to go just with melodic metal, because melody, I think, is one thing that really is common among any phase of the band. But it's just there, it's just us. So melodic, I think, is a name that I want to keep. But then it came this progressive metal. I think it really captures, because we are telling a story. And the progressiveness was really a tool that we found really useful to tell stories. Because, in a progressive song, the mood goes up and down, and the pace changes, and it's really useful to tell a story, because the story has different phases, different a character might go from to different places and situations. So I think the progressiveness in us ended up almost naturally, because we're telling a story, and we want to change the things over time. And maybe we did it in a way that fits in the progressive genre. I don't know if that all makes sense. I hope it does. I just want to end by saying that, I'm not really a fan of labeling things, and it's like boring. But at the end, I think it's one of those things that it's really, you have to do it, because you have to be able to talk to people. Like, what kind of thing do you play? You have to tell them something. You have to write something on a blog post, or social media post. You have to market it somehow. You have to, you know, metal is such a wide genre, so it wouldn't be responsible just saying it's metal, because I think you would be targeting a lot of people that are probably not quite interested in this kind of metal. So this is where we ended. Progressive metal, progressive melodic metal sometimes. And I think this answers your question, I hope.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, dude. Because I like a little bit of progressive metal myself. You know, like I was telling you about Dream Theater, a little bit of Rush, maybe
Mhm.
stuff like that. You know, but with me personally, I listen to a lot of death metal. You know, bands like Cannibal Corpse, Fetal Embalmment, Internal Bleeding, just to name a few. But if it
Right.
sounds good to me, it might not
That's
sound good to
a bit
some.
on more extreme side.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I like it. I like pretty much everything. Although I can't get into emo music for some reason.
Mm,
Those guys that say,
yeah, I
"Oh, my girlfriend
couldn't
broke up with me. I better go kill myself." Come on, just get over it. And a new girlfriend. I mean,
get
what?
over it and listen to some death metal.
Yeah, that might help settle the
Uh,
mood from being emotional to aggressive. Who knows? Anything's possible. This might sound like an off
true,
the wall. This might
true.
sound like an off the wall question for you, Miguel, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's the weirdest time signature you've ever written music in?
Oh, that was recently the 5/4. Uh, I mean, I wouldn't say it's that weird, but it's, I guess, one that doesn't fall under the regular 4/4 or 3/4, and it was fun. It was fun. We also did a 7/8 in Firewall, I think the song is called. But for some reason, I think the 5/4 was, you know, I think is has a different feel to it, and it took a while for us to catch up to that, you know, that inner metronome you have, and catch that tempo. That's an interesting question I've never been asked before.
Well, doesn't hurt to ask, does it? Who knows?
Sure, sure.
Okay, here's an interesting one for you as well. What would you like to say to a person who's just beginning to learn how to play guitar?
Wow. Hmm. Let me think. Well, I think not just in guitar. This is probably going to be a generic advice, but I think it really applies to guitar. Is find your thing. Find the thing that really makes your ticks your brain, the thing that gets you going, and use that to your advantage, and just practice with that instead of you know, following some boring thing. You might be surprised of how the human brain is to work in something that they love. The time goes by and suddenly you practice a lot more and you evolve. Not to say that when you will probably face some time where you want to develop a specific technical skill. Probably you will have to work a little bit there and things might get boring. But I would say if you're starting, like you just asked, I would say go for the thing that you really like. I think it will go a long way with just that.
That's really cool. What's your favorite thing about being a musician?
Also, an interesting question, and something that I actually think about very often is that I'm so blessed by going to so many different places and meeting so many people, different ways of thinking, different ways of, you know, approaching life in general. Um, we are fortunate enough to tour mainly Portugal, and now we have a lot of dates in Spain, and the plan is to, you know, go through all of Europe, and we're working on that. And when I look back, and we often do when we're touring, we talk about, we went to that place, remember? Yeah, that was crazy, man. And what about that one? You met that guy. Yeah, that's good. So you're building memories. You're building memories and different ways of, and you're also learning about new ways to see life because you meet so many people. I mean, it's such an enriching experience. Um, and because of that, I think I'm probably a better person because of that. And so I'm, in a way, it's a blessing. Of course, there's also a lot of work, but you asked for the best part.
Well, as I've always told people, count your blessings, not your burdens. That's the best advice I could ever give somebody.
That's a good one too. That's a good one too. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because sometimes people are just struggling with what they're doing. And it's like, well, maybe you could find something else to do and take that struggle away for a while and then go back to it later. And then you could figure it out, but it's all a process, really.
Definitely, definitely. Like sleep on your problems. Maybe next morning you will be able to deal with it better. Who knows?
Absolutely. Time helps with everything, just about. I'm going to
Agree.
ask one of Rhino's questions.
Completely
Since
agree.
he's not here, Rhino would be asking you this right now. He'd be asking you, what advice would you give to your 10-year-old self?
Whew. Um, yeah, I think. So is that a question like musically, personally, any kind of thing?
Anything really.
All right. So I'll try to keep it to music, and then maybe if I can think of something personal, more personal that I will say it. But I think musically, there was a time. So the band has 15 years. It's not. It's quite a long time. And I remember the first years. I remember not having a high enough standard. So I think one advice I could give is like when you're 10 years old, when you make a band, when you form a band, set your standards really high so that you can do great stuff that you're proud of. So I think that didn't happen always at the beginning. It was a learning process. So that's one advice. Um, Another one is, I mean, I feel like I've wasted so much time um, in general. I mean, not a lot of it, like nothing to keep me up at night, but I feel like I shouldn't have wasted so much time with some people, you know. And maybe a good advice would be to, reassess the time. Always think of the time you're investing. Make sure it's a good investment, and remember, you're going to die. Memento mori. You don't have an infinite amount of time, so plan where you spend your time really well.
So basically, make the
I
best
think
of
that,
what you have while you still have it.
yeah, actually, both things they actually complement each other pretty well, I think.
I can relate to that, because if I were to give advice to my 10-year-old self, I'd just like learn time signatures in reverse.
Wow.
I don't know if that
You
would be
think you
possible.
really like time signatures, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I play in 4/4 mostly. So
Hmm.
I try to stick with it as best that I can. But then there's sometimes where I'm just like, I'm struggling. Just going to put my guitar down for a while and just work on the vocals instead. Screw it.
Yeah, I like odd time signatures, but I think always see them as tools to get something across rather than just time signatures for the sake of it. You know, of course, it's fun to experiment, but I mean, at the end of the day, when you're, putting something in a record, I think the kinds of discussions we usually have among the band is like, is this helping the song or is it detrimental? Not in terms of, is this a more complex time signature or not? But I'm sure you probably do the same.
I'll ask you a couple more questions that Rhino would ask. You get to bring back one dead
Go
musician,
ahead.
but in return, you have to sacrifice a modern musician. Who's going down and who's coming up?
Jesus Christ.
I know. It's a weird question.
I mean, it's a weird one, especially to the one that is living right now. I hope he or she doesn't, listen to this interview.
No, of course not.
So I have to let me. Okay, I have to bring someone back, and for that I would have to sacrifice someone from the present. Yeah. And okay, I think. I'm interested. I would like to see what Jimi Hendrix would do, like what was left to do. I think he was special, and I think he could help. I'm curious about how much more impact would he have on the guitar and music in general. I don't think he said everything he had or made everything he had to make. So probably Jimi Hendrix would be someone I would bring back. This is probably, it's a tough question. So I won't struggle too much with it because it will be unfair in any way. But so in terms of a person, I would sacrifice any artist.
Okay.
Any artist is possible. Is it?
Yeah, it could be anybody, really.
I was trying to come up with some violent criminal artist that I could sacrifice. But I can't come up with any. I will just apologize and opt to not answer that part of the question if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. me personally, I always switch it up. This time I would bring back Peter Steele from Typo Negative.
Oh, that's a good one too.
And to sacrifice somebody would be Justin Bieber.
I mean, I feel sorry for him. I just imagine him being sacrificed in some way, and I immediately feel sorry and can't proceed answering that. But
tied up to a tree, okay. Doused in gasoline and set ablaze. See you later, Fever. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
We shouldn't laugh about sacrifices.
No, probably. I mean, human sacrifice was done way back during like the Old Testament and the Bible times, and now we don't really do sacrifices anymore.
Yeah, good thing.
Well, let's see. There's 8 minutes left in this segment. I'm trying to think of another question to ask you. If I were to come to Portugal, what food would you recommend? And also, what food would you not recommend? Like, what food is good and what food is not good?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I when I go to another country, I really like to get the specialties, the things that I can't get anywhere else. And so I would recommend you the francesinha is one thing one special dish we have. It's basically a sandwich, but it has a lot of sauce all over it, and it has cheese, ham, a lot of smoked kind of meat, and it's really delicious. Egg and then a really special sauce that no one really knows how to do it because it's always a secret, but everyone has one. And it's one of those things that is that competition between restaurants who has the best francesinha. It's people are always in search of the best, so I think it's one definitely you should try. It's very typical from Porto, the second largest city in Portugal. We also have some pretty crazy things once I start thinking about them. We have this, we call it arroz de cabidela, which is basically rice in a stew of a chicken and rice, but you put the blood of the chicken in the stew as well. Oh, so okay. The rice is all black because of the blood. It might sound really weird if you're not used to it, but it's really interesting and probably something you won't get in a lot of other places. I mean, there are so many. Our food is really rich. Each zone has its own thing, like specialty. I love it. One thing I wouldn't recommend that is actually very traditional for us. We eat it on the Christmas Eve, for example, traditionally, and it's like baked potatoes with codfish, but it's all like a stew. It's like very bland. I don't like it, to be honest. I think it's a very good way of wasting codfish. There are so many good ways to do a good codfish dish, but definitely not this one. It's like batatas cozidas. It's like how you translate that. Baked potatoes, basically.
Yeah, that's the second one that you
baked potatoes with coffee.
It sounds really exotic.
Yes, and we do that with chicken, and we also do that with another fish, which is called, what is it called? Completely forgot the name, but we do it with the fish as well, like a river fish that we make the rice and put the blood on the rice as well. Yeah, sounds something coming out of a black metal sacrifice, but it's real delicious.
Yeah, I can give that a try, dude. No, I've never really tried anything like that before, but it does sound cool. I mean, it's always good to learn about different cultures, foods, and stuff like that.
I love it. Oh, of course, the wine. The wine is one of the things we are pretty proud about, so we should try them.
A lot of vineyards in Portugal, I take it.
Yes, a lot of them. And even though the country is so small, we have so many different regions for wine, and a lot of different wines. I think it was us, or mainly us, that started mixing different species of grapes, if I'm not mistaken. So if you take the French wine, for example, it's mostly a single species of grape, but then we started mixing them, and then suddenly you have blends, and basically the complexity explodes. You'd have lots of different combinations that are possible, and we have so many different regions that have different weather, different dirt, different sun exposure, different everything. So it it turns out the wine is also drastically different. So it's very rich.
Are you a Merlot drinker?
Uh, am I what?
You like wine at like Merlot, say Zinfandel? What kind of wine do you like?
I usually go for a red wine, uh, if, especially from the region of Douro. Douro is a river from Portugal, which has very famous red wine. Well, wine in general, but I'm really into the red wine. But I mean, I've drank so much good wine from all regions, like the green wine, which my zone kind of has a very fresh wine. It goes really well in the summer, for example. So it also depends on what situation you're in. If you're in the summer with friends, maybe you would have some green wine. If you're in the winter, like we are, and you want something to feel a bit more comfy, then maybe a red wine from Douro or Alentejo, which is way in the south. If you're feeling like, if you want something like really smooth, we have this region called Dão, which is in the center, on the coast. Uh, there are a lot of other regions that I think I haven't tried them all, but I like wine, but I'm not like a wine expert in any way. But I like trying and, you know, getting getting to know.
I can
Yeah,
understand. That's cool. I like wine every
yeah.
now and then.
If you come here, ping me and I will get some suggestions for you to visit and eat and drink.
Sounds awesome, dude. Let's hit the button. There we go. You gotta love technology, man. It fucking sucks sometimes.
Pretty useful also.
Yeah, yeah. Those things happen, man. Oh, let me ask you this. How did you become a musician? Were you always interested in music?
Yeah, I I think there was a point in my pre-teenage years that I uh, awakened this love for music, this passion, and that was with, funny enough, with a band called Nirvana, uh, which is, you know, uh, I think it was this pure adrenaline and everything else that triggered that in me, and that also inspired me to pick up the guitar. Um, so I guess I, I'm I'm very sure that I'm not the only one that this band inspired to start, because their songs are so accessible, so and so visceral at the same time. And this was, I guess, maybe when I was 12 or something, and or maybe 10. And from there, for context, there wasn't internet at the time, so finding a band that you liked was a pretty big deal. You couldn't just swipe next and find the other one. So you had to, you would listen to everything you could get your hands on. And so I really absorbed these bands that I discovered in that time, and that I think that triggered my interest in music. And then I decided to get back to learning the guitar, because when I was really little, my mom got me into guitar lessons, but I didn't give a shit about it, which was ironic because later I decided to pick it up again and I have a band right now, and it's just a big part of my life. Yeah. So yeah, I
That's
think
what I was going
that's
to ask you next,
basically
though,
it.
was did you grow up in a musical family?
Not at all. That's another thing that is quite interesting. My my parents don't really, they don't listen to music, I think, which is weird to me. I don't know how it is possible, to be raised in this, you know, with this, you know, my home without music, and suddenly you like music. I guess that made the impact of first listening to those first songs that I really liked. That made the impact stronger, maybe, and for that reason, it made a stronger impression on me. But yeah, it's not at all not a musical family, not anything like that. They are very they made sure that I would get the opportunity to learn it. They know that it is an important thing for the mind, for everything, but they're not into it, no.
Okay.
So it's one of those funny things in life.
How would you describe your local music scene? You have a lot of bands nearby?
Hmm. I think we had. I think we've had a lot more. Like 10 years ago, maybe there were a lot of bands. Before that, they were very rare. I think just the ability of playing an instrument was rarer in general because it didn't have access to information as easy as now. Then I think it grew to a peak. That's more or less when we also formed our band back in 2008, maybe. But I think since then it's been decreasing, and I think partly because the I don't feel like the young people, the teenagers, I don't think they are really into the instrumental music. Guitar sales I think went down. Maybe with COVID they went up, but before that they were really going down. I think the interest is not as strong as it was. But it's I think this is the world goes in cycles. Probably something in the next few years will pump it back up again, and here we are riding the waves. But all in all, it's a small scene, for sure. In Porto, which is the major city that is close, the scene there is pretty big. They have, whole shopping malls that are dedicated to rehearsal rooms. What they call it, the band hive. They have lots of alternative bands there, and we're close, so we also get a little bit of that benefit of that cultural appreciation, I would say. But here in this city, Passos de Ferreira, it's called. It's not really big. It's a small town, so we wouldn't you wouldn't expect such a large number of bands. But yeah, this is where we live, and we're good. It's no one bothers. We do our thing. We go around with the van and play everywhere. So, but I think it's normal.
Nothing wrong with playing everywhere. Eventually, Nightmare Crypt, my band, is going to be on tour, which is in May. We're starting out in Denver, Colorado, working our way back to the East Coast. We'll be doing a festival in
Wow.
Arkansas.
No, nice. I mean, touring the US must be. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tour the whole country in a single tour, would you? I mean,
No.
probably, but it would take a long time.
It would take an excessive amount of, cash and gas and food and sleep and whatever else you could think of, really. but
Yeah.
I think the best what you had, you know. That's why I told you. That's why I tell people all the time because someday you might not have it.
Yeah. We were thinking like if we ever tour in the US, maybe like East Coast, West Coast, or keep it separated. But of course, there's also the middle. Don't know what you guys call it, but the inner states.
Well, let's see. We got the Midwest, and then we got the Mountain Zone. Then we got the Pacific Coast, which is the West Coast, basically. You know, California, Oregon, Washington State, Arizona. Yeah,
Of course, the people are more concentrated on the coasts, right?
I think so. Yeah, because there's like so many different cities, and plus there's bigger states like California. That's a pretty big state, but it's falling apart as I'm telling you, because of all the earthquakes and all the corruption that's out there. But at the same time, there's corruption everywhere.
Yeah. And in Portugal too.
Sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, and you got to take the bad with the good. Can't be perfect because there's really no such thing.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Miguel. My next question for you is this: when it comes to a band releasing an album, like say it's one of your favorite bands, say it might be White Zombie, or say it might be Pantera. What kind of format do you like to have your music on? Do you like having a CD, like say physical format, or do you like the digital releases?
Yeah, if it's a band I really like, the CD is my go-to, or vinyl. I think CD it's my thing. Like I was raised in the 90s, so CD was pretty big, and vinyl is just that collections collection item that is really great and sounds very great as well. From time to time, feels good to have it too. So those are, I think, my main things. But I think on a daily basis, what I use is digital. Okay. So it's essentially those became collection items for me, and I think I kind of feel like this is how many people see them as well today, if I'm not mistaken. But that's the impression I have, when on the merchandising booth at the end of the shows. Like people want something, a memorabilia, something to keep the signatures from the band, and something they can remember. But they're not necessarily going to use it every day,
Yeah, I can definitely relate because there's nothing like holding a CD in your hands and you open it up, you pull out the booklet, you study the lyrics a little bit, you look at the, thanks list and all the credits for like who produced it and whatnot, and who the band members are. That's always exciting. With digital releases, you can still do that, but at the same time, I wonder if that hurts the musician themselves. I mean,
That's true.
Does it bother you guys when there's a digital release? Because I don't know if that affects people or not.
Digital only?
Yeah, say if we didn't have CDs or tapes, or if we didn't have vinyl, and it was just all digital releases, do you think that would ruin the music industry?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I have to. I mean, when the CD came out, would maybe some people were saying, cassettes are the thing. This is going to ruin it. Digital, I think, is, it's not physical. I get it. It's not something you can pick up, but it's still a release. It's still music in the end. So as long as you listen to music, I think it should be fine. At the same time, I feel like the music industry needs to restructure themselves somehow, because the the money is not flowing the same way. We get a lot more money by selling a CD versus selling, I mean, not selling, but someone streaming it from a platform like Spotify. So I see where you're going. Like, if the current situation keeps going, we won't have any new music probably, because it's just not sustainable. But at the same time, I'm a bit optimistic that we will sort it out some way. I think shows, maybe merchandising and shows are currently supporting basically every band's expenses. Maybe that's the way forward. I don't know. But it's the world we have. We in our band, we try to play with the cards we're given. We try to change the world, of course, but it's, at the end of the day, you have to move forward and write your next song, and because that's what we love to do. So yeah, I'm not saying the world needs to change, let someone else do it, but I'm just saying we have to live in the world, even if we don't like it. But yeah, that's my stance on it. I'm sure what do you think of it?
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Live your best life, right?
True.
I was going to ask you, Miguel, do you have a guitar nearby?
A guitar nearby? No, I'm not. Oh, I do. I actually have an interesting one. Want me to show it to you?
Yes, this is the segment that we call Show Me Your Axe.
This is actually something I bought a few months ago. And it's a Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with those.
A custom shop. Heavy relic. This thing is like beautiful. It's like I've recently been exploring single coils in our new songs that we've not released yet, and it's been like opening a lot of doors for our composition, I feel, and these single coils rock. Love this thing. Here's my axe.
That's nice. I tried playing on Fenders before, and I always had a hard time with it. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, that's the Cadillac of electric guitars." I'm like, really? It makes me laugh.
I mean,
say that.
I mean, I love it. It's a bit of the neck is a bit on the thicker side, but I mean, it plays really, really good to me. I haven't had any issues with it, and as I said, it's really really feels great to. I use it only for songwriting and studio recording because it's really expensive, to be honest. So it's not one you would accidentally drop on the floor or use it for live shows very often. But I do think it feels really great composing songs with the guitar. Well, personally, at least, because of the new tonalities it provides me, because I was always a humbucker guy for basically 12 or 13 years. But then it came a point where we wanted to explore some other things. And this did the trick to me.
What tuning do you play in?
We play in C standard.
Okay. I play in D standard myself and also drop C.
All right. Yeah. Drop C. Yeah. The tuning is one of those things like it's hard to change it because you want to play the songs live. And then you start thinking, oh, do I want to change guitars in the middle? or retune it even. So not to say we're unhappy with C standard, nothing wrong about it, but when I think of changing it for new songs, I immediately don't want to do it because of the thinking of all the hassle. But yeah, I could also get a 7-string and keep the lower 6 in C standard. Who knows?
Yeah, I can understand that. I got a 7-string myself, and I also got an 8-string. Those can be fun sometimes, but those lower strings get a little bit wobbly at certain moments. Okay, maybe I should tune up. Maybe I should tune down. Maybe I should keep it in standard. Who knows? It's all how you want to do it. Whatever you feel is good.
Yeah, I think what I've missed is the range. So by using C standard, I feel like I don't have as much high notes as I used to, of course, as like E standard or something. So I feel like the 7-string would give me the more range, which is basically what it's used for. And sometimes miss that with solos. I have a solo on the 24th fret, so it's really reaching the limits there. So yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be a little difficult if you just bend the string wrong and you cut your finger open. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I use like low tension, as low as possible on my main guitar. Like I have this Evertune bridge, which really helps, with keeping things tuned even in low tensions. But I use lower tension for precisely because of that solo. It was really impossible for changing the tension. But yeah, getting those high notes really squeak and squishing them, like bending the notes.
I like it when I'm sitting back and I'm playing my guitar. I'm just rambling around on it, and then out of nowhere, a really crazy, sick pinch harmonic comes out of nowhere. You just hear it, and you're just like, "Whoa! Maybe I could do that again if I slow down a little bit." So I do slow down sometimes, and then I just bend it just right, and it just comes out perfectly.
Yeah, that's a great feeling.
I was going to ask you this as well. What kind of guitar picks do you like to use? With me personally, I've been using Jazz 3 picks.
3 millimeters?
No, Jazz 3 picks. They're actually like 1 millimeter, but they're like real small,
one
that big.
We use 0.73 millimeters.
Okay.
It just happened that it's everyone's preference. It was kind of a weird coincidence. Yeah, 0.73 millimeters. Usually, Dunlop. Sorry, just a standard yellow Dunlop pick. More recently, like a few years back, we use custom picks with our logo, which are cool for people enjoy having them when we give them away. But they're still the same format, 0.73 millimeters. That's my go-to.
Yeah, they're too flimsy for my like now, in all honesty. But hey, I'm not going to knock you for what you like. That's good that you enjoy them,
Yeah, I guess if you play really fast and really tense with a high tension, probably I would switch to something thicker. But that's probably what you're doing. You probably have thicker strings, no?
Yeah, I go up to like 11, sometimes 13. All depends,
Okay.
it all depends on how I want to construct the song. Like if I want it to be crunchy and chunky, it'll be like that. But other than that, I just play with whatever comes out of my head. Like here's something and I'll just play it.
All right. Yeah, I think for 11, I think my main guitar I'm using right now 1156, and the 0.73 pick is perfect for me. That's All boils down to personal preference, of course.
Yeah, I can understand that because I've used .73s on acoustic guitars before, and it sounds beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, if you give me a 1 millimeter, it will work. But that one is the one I like.
That's killer, dude. That's killer.
Yeah.
I got a few more questions here for you, Miguel, and I'm gonna call it a day. Um,
Of course.
what's the craziest thing you've seen while performing? Like, say it happened to one of your band members, or maybe somebody that's in the crowd.
Mm, I think the craziest thing was a show last year or 2 years ago. This guy had, shaved his head with our logo on it. I didn't expect that. That was quite crazy to find. We took a picture with him. Let me see. Uh, I can't think of anything that beats that. Yeah,
That dude sounds like
that's it.
he stand out like a sore thumb. Be like, hey, it's Billy. He's over there.
I mean, he loved this. I mean, when we play on that zone, he always comes down and see us. Is a fantastic guy with a cool hairstyle too.
Well, if I ever shave my head, it might be in the shape of something else, but at the same time, I'll be bald. Not good for the winter time.
You know what? Right. And we mentioned that fortunately our logo is pretty minimalistic, but if our logo would be something like much more complex, like many metal bands actually have, he wouldn't probably be able to do it. Our logo is just basically an stylized A, so you can imagine was one of those typical metal or even death metal uses that a lot.
Oh yeah,
Those very complex logos probably wouldn't happen.
very intricate
Yeah.
designs. That's true. Some people can do it real well, and then there's other people that make it look like a 5-year-old drew it. I've tried to draw logos before. It's just not my thing. So I stick with my guitar, I stick with my vocals and lyrics, and that's basically what I do. So, what would you like to say to your
Yeah.
fans?
To each one their own.
What's that, Miguel? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, well, I was just saying to each one their own. Like we can't. If you can't do logos, that's totally fine. I can't either. No one can. Each person should do what they're best at, basically.
Absolutely. Is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out to?
And yes, yes, please. So I would like everyone to. So fans and still not fans. I would like to invite everyone to enter our universe. We call it. Uh, come and see what we created, what we built. We have a path that we want to show you, and that path involves music and story as well. I think you'll enjoy it, and reach out to us if you need anything like questions or merchandise or whatever. We wanna talk, and yeah, that's it. That's the invitation for everyone.
Very cool. Before I forget, I'm going to give a shout out to Davide Polito from the Medalist PR for helping set up this interview. Thank you, sir, my friend. And also, Miguel, I'd like to tell you thanks for being on the show today. It's been a blast. Do you have any final words for Underground Noise Webzine?
Thank you a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show. And you mentioned at the first, this is Which episode number?
143.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yep.
So hope you hope you keep this going, and congratulations, and thanks a lot for having me.
Hey, you're welcome, dude. Wouldn't mind having you back again someday. It would be great.